Welcome to MarketBeat Mondays, everyone. I'll give you a quick little refresh of what we've been covering here, and we'll go a little bit longer today since we missed actually being live those first 7 minutes or so.
Wow.
Sorry, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Chris and Thomas are here with us to go over some of the biggest news of the week. We've covered a lot already, but let's do it again because no one actually heard us, Chris and Thomas. We're just going to sneak by some of the biggest things coming up this weekend or this week and today. We're watching Palantir earnings coming up. Hims and Hers earnings is coming up. Talking about AMD. Let's start back with that heat map, everyone. Chris and Thomas, I know we just did this, but that was practice. Sure. Let's do it again for real. Talking about the heat map today, some of the biggest earners of the day, Amazon doing so well, up almost 5% today. And that's after last week's big run up. So let's talk about what's behind that big run up in Amazon.
Well, so Amazon, sorry, Chris. Amazon's being driven by a total package story. The last reports from last week's report shows that it's firing on all cylinders. AI is driving business, consumers driving business. But today we got news of a deal with OpenAI. OpenAI is contracting, thousands of GPUs for capacity, which just affirms Amazon's position as a hyperscaler, importance to AI, and just the general AI story in general. Shows that this AI bubble money is going to flow towards it as well. Reaffirms all of that story, all those news details from last week's report, and just plays into the outlook for revenue and for growth.
Right, and I was mentioning that in those first 7 minutes, Bridget, I was saying that Amazon's only up, and I use only in air quotes, only up about 16% for the year. So there's an opportunity there for investors because Amazon was one of those stocks that got really beaten down at the beginning of the year, and now it has a really good chance for a big rally towards the end of the year because, as Thomas said, this isn't just an AWS story. I think initially after the earnings, a lot of people looked at it as just an AWS story, but there's a really strong growth in their ad services, and then, of course, the e-commerce business around this time of year is showing some strength.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull up the chart here really quick for Nvidia too, because Nvidia's seen a nice big boost along with all these new announcements that really have to do with Nvidia. These are also all good news for Nvidia too, right?
Absolutely, because ultimately what we're seeing are contracts for the use of Nvidia GPUs, which means that it's either demand for GPUs that have already been ordered, so we know that those orders are going to be real, or it's demand for new orders, which means that the outlook is blossoming. In either case, it's good news for the company because right now the revenue forecast is fantastic and it looks like it's low.
All right, well, let's look at some of the other big gainers today. Want to talk about Micron technology. This was one of the big ones that popped on the heat map too, and a couple people wanted to hear about that one already from our comments on our videos earlier this week. It's up about 4% in the last 5 days, up 25% in the last month.
Yeah, so Micron didn't report any news in the last day or 2 week that I would say is driving today's rally. This is the market continuing a move that really began in April and then gained momentum, in July and August with the rebound with the Q2 results. And it's just a market that's flooding into this stock because it is a beneficiary of the AI boom. If you think every one of those GPUs from Nvidia or AMD that are being ordered is going to be built around memory units that are made by Micron. So it's got huge demand. It's being seen in the results. The expectation for growth is blossoming. The expectation for leverage and earnings is blossoming. And so that's being reflected in the stock price. We have a lot of people flooding into the market. You can see revenue has been elevated for the last several quarters, reaching like an average peak over the last few months. MACD momentum is very strong, showing a very strong market gaining momentum, gaining strength as this money flows into it. So right now, it looks like Micron, this initial movement is getting kind of toppy. The last 2 weeks have been small candles, spinning top candles that show the market's kind of getting tired. So I would not be surprised to see it pull back a little bit, but that would probably be a buying opportunity because I would expect also to see the upcoming results be very strong.
Bridget, I'm not seeing it on their website, but I am seeing sources about Palantir's results are out. The stock is up. It's up in the after hours. I'm seeing record revenue, 1.18 billion for the quarter, adjusted earnings of 21 cents per share. That beats analyst estimates of 1.1 billion in revenue and 17 cents EPS. They raised their guidance to 4.4 billion for the year, up from 4.14 to 4.15 that they had guided earlier. Revenue's up 63% year over year. Much of that's coming from commercial. Sales were up in commercial 121% year over year for the quarter. Those are some of the headline numbers I'm seeing right now. I'm trying to seeing it on their website. I'm not seeing it on their website yet, but
it's nuts because sometimes these companies will release it to the press release services, and the press release services will shoot it out wherever it goes, and you'll get it on a news feed before you get it on their own website. But the stock is up 1% right now. What I see on the headline is that upbeat sales forecast. So again, you've got an AI story where the revenue and the earnings forecast is still kind of blossoming. We're in a discovery phase. This market could continue to move higher until we see some kind of a peak in the outlook, some kind of topping where it's like, well, okay, now for sure, this company can't grow anymore or can't grow any faster than it is, and it's going to start slowing down.
Right.
Yeah, well, as soon as we can pull up those Palantir results, we'll take a look at that. Interesting to see that we're already seeing the stock go up a little bit more. I know, Chris, you were worried that we might see a pullback just because it's been so high. So we'll continue to follow that, kind of popping in and out throughout this live stream here today. Let's get to a couple others. There's so many different things that people want us to cover today. We've got a super chat, so we're going to have you, Chris, why don't you look up LEU? This is from Gabe Fabe. Thank you so much for the super chat. Look up LEU. And Thomas, I want you to talk about Data Vault. This is the most commonly requested one right now, and I know this was one of your stock picks before. So let's look at what's happening with Data Vault. It's got a pretty big dip right now.
Well, right. I think Data Vault is a really good speculative play right now. It's got really interesting technology. It certainly has a very monetizable use case. They're trying to use AI, trying to build out a platform to use AI to help businesses and enterprise monetize their data. And in a world where data is driving everything, it's the forces behind the models, the AI models and the AI inferencing. That's really huge because in any business, any company that needs a certain amount of data or a certain kind of data can go out and say, hey, I can get it here, on this place. And so recently we've seen a couple of deals that affirm the business's model and its plans, its technology plans. It's got some funding and some backing from some big players, including IBM, to help it, succeed with its goals. But right now it's not making tons of revenue or earnings. What I saw most recently, and we'll need to recheck this again, is that analysts and institutions weren't really on board with it. I mean, they weren't really, they weren't selling it or they weren't bearish on it, but they're not really supporting it or buying it or encouraging their followers to buy it. So there wasn't a whole lot of support from those vectors. But what we have in play is a lot of retail investors who are getting interested in it because it's an interesting play with a good potential outlook, and they're fighting against the short sellers. Short interest in this stock is, it's down significantly. Right. Okay. So this is very interesting. Short interest in this stock hit peak levels just in the previous report or two. And it looks like in the last month, short interest has been reduced by 80%. It's now only 4%. I think that is a really, really significant change that kind of opens up the pathway for this company, for the stock price to move forward. Right now it's falling, but I think if we get a good positive catalyst, we could see some pretty vigorous upside movement. Let me check on institutions. Yeah, still only 0.66% institutional ownership, so not a lot of support there. With that in play, any amount of upside to me is questionable because we need to have those institutions buying the stock to really support the price as it moves higher. And without that in play, we're looking at volatility, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think the follow-up question here is when you have a dip like this, is this the time to get in on this speculative play? Do you think there is a long-term future, or are you just looking at a lot of volatility where it could fall even further than what it has already?
Well, right. So On a dip, it would be a buy, but you would probably want to wait for a good signal that you've hit a bottom. Because right now, what I'm looking at on the daily charts, uh, we've got 6 or 7 red candles in a row. Today, we moved below all 3 moving averages. We're still at the multi-month support level, but where the market is right now, it could keep moving lower. And in this scenario, it could go down to $1 or lower just because there's not a lot of institutions or analysts supporting the stock. But given a bottom, given the outlook, the expectation for volatility, it seems like it would be a pretty tradable stock. When you get a bottom, you can buy some. When you get a top, take profits. Just be wary of the news cycle and watch out for the short sellers and the institutions.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up really quick here. Just that consensus price target is what had some people excited about this. I know we talked about that when we had talked about this as a potential recommendation, that on the high end, they're looking at $11 for this stock. So right now at 185, there seems to be optimism about the company, but it is risky right now.
Well, that's a good point, though, and something else that we've talked about many times. It's not so much what the consensus says, the headline, as it is the trends, because we've got 3 analysts covering the stock. The most recent rating is a sell from Weiss. Before that, we've got 2 ratings, one in June and one from December of last year. And the high target of $11 was set last year. And since it's almost 12 months old, and it's been followed up by some other, updates that aren't quite as good, I don't put a lot of faith in it. Consensus says, what does it say? It says 278% upside. I don't think that's going to happen right now. But given a catalyst, given some interest from institutions and interest from analysts, it's possible.
All right, we've got lots of other stocks to cover, so we're going to get to some of those. There's lots coming in the chat today, but I also want to make sure you know that if you watch our videos throughout the week, I also will look at the comments from those videos and bring up some of the stocks that people want to hear about in our Monday live streams. So we're going to get into a couple of those right now, and that's in the rare earth sector. We had a lot of people who are interested in what's happening with USAR, LAC, and UAMY. So let's just look at kind of that whole category. I'll kind of flow through these different stock charts too, as we can look at those. So looking at USAR, it looks like that's down quite a bit right now. Looking at UAMY, that's also down, kind of moving as a sector. And then also looking at LAR, also down right now.
Right. Looking at these stocks, this group from, the 10,000 foot view, it kind of looks like a big giant pump and dump because USAR and LAC have no revenue. They've got an outlook for business, but no revenue. The market shot up because of the interest of the government, interest with the trade relations. A lot of speculators plowing into the markets drove those values up. Now they're selling off. And what I see is these companies with no revenue and their stocks selling off. I see a lot of people losing out and probably going to stay losers for a long time. Without revenue, without earnings, there's not a lot of hope for these companies. And given the price action over the last few months, we shot up. So USR 16, so over 100%. And then we corrected by more than 50%, but right back down to where we were. Think about that big bubble of buyers as just being a big giant rock ceiling that's going to keep this market from moving higher. And you look down at the volume that was, the trading volume during that spike. I mean, the volume just in like 3 or 4 days is more than the volume over the last year. So that's just a lot of overhang for this market. It's one that, maybe could be good, maybe could be better. But given what's happened over the last few months, I think that right now it's dead money.
Each of the stocks have significant short interest on them. And I think right now, Thomas, you're just seeing a lot of the retail investors are coming smack up against the short sellers. There's a long-term story here potentially for rare earths, but it's not, it's a long-term play.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, UAMY, they've got some revenue, and I think they've just restarted some operations at one of their mines. So that would be a better play. But again, it suffered from the same market dynamics, the same run up, the same sell off, lots of volume, plenty of overhang. We've got very choppy price action, so lots of gaps, plenty of places for traders to put up a wall and of resistance and keep the market from moving higher.
Okay, well, that's a good look at that sector. I want to get back to that super chat. Gabe, thanks again for doing that. Wanting to look at LEU, and I think this is a first time covering this stock. What did you find out about this one, Chris?
Yeah, so Centrus Energy. So what they're doing is they're providing the nuclear fuel and enrichment services for a lot of the nuclear reactors that are being built. So this is the example. You know, they're providing low enriched uranium and things of that nature. What I'm seeing with the stock is, again, there's a lot of short interest in the stock. The stock is, as people can see with the chart, it's really surged here in the last month. It dipped a little bit heading into September. And it's been really rallying. It's well above the analyst price target right now. That doesn't mean it can't go higher. Earnings, they report earnings, I think it's Thursday of this week. So that's something that investors are going to want to pay attention to. I've seen analysts, some have raised their price targets rather aggressively, but you know, even some have it as high as 300, but at 300, that's still almost 15% lower than where the stock is right now. So think there's a good story here, but the stock is probably a little bit over its skis right now.
Yeah, right. So this Centrus is part of the SMR story with the small modular reactors. They make, and they're I think they're the only U.S. company that's allowed to do it right now. They're making HALEU, high assay, low enriched uranium. So it's a higher assay than what traditional fuel is, but it's not been refined enough to be fuel quality or to be weapons quality. And so this is really important for SMRs, especially for companies like Oklo. And they're actually partnered with Oklo because their next gen reactors need the HALEU fuel to operate. They're able to operate more efficiently with it, able to sustain their operations with less refueling. And they're also able to turn the spent fuel and then recycle it into new fuel. So part of the price run up is because of the demand for nuclear services, nuclear power. But again, this is another company that's kind of sketchy on the revenue. It's got some revenue right now, but not tons. Stock price looks like we're correcting. Looks like pretty good support around 320. But that could be broken, you know, depending on how upcoming results are. And Chris, what were you saying about? I think you said the analysts.
The analysts have the consensus target is 227, which is about 33% lower. But there's been some analysts who have been raising their targets significantly, and some are above that 227, but none are at the 342 where the stock is now.
Right.
The highest I'm seeing is 300.
Is 300. So it looks like the high end of that range is where support is right now. And so you're going to want to see if the other analysts come up to that level, if the market follows them there, it's possible for the stock to consolidate at $300 for the next few months or a few quarters until all those things kind of run up to match the price. But yeah, this is an interesting one to watch, I think.
It is.
Yeah, we've got so many different interesting names that I'm excited to bring out to bring up because there's a lot. IREN is up. We are definitely going to talk about that one in just a minute. But while we're in the energy field here, there was an interesting one that somebody commented on this week that we've never really talked about on the channel, so I wanted to bring that up. This is that Micron Technologies, MIR is the ticker. This is a really interesting company and stock chart. It's had up about 30% in the last month, up pretty well year to date. But this company is interesting because we talk a lot about nuclear energy, and this is a leading provider of radiation detection, measurement, and monitoring solutions. So this one is super interesting. What did you guys think about this stock?
All right. Hang on a second. You said radiation detection, monitoring, medical and nuclear safety. Well, it seems like it's really well positioned, not only for healthcare, but for the blossoming nuclear energy industry. Looks like the news flow is pretty decent.
They just reported earnings on October 28th, beat on top and bottom.
Improve their free cash flow guidance. That's always important. They've got free cash flow, and that's super duper important. I mean, how many nuclear stocks even have revenue not much
Right.
less cash flow or free cash flow. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. The chart also looks good. The daily chart actually looks pretty fantastic. I mean, for near-term traders. So last week, I guess that was when they reported results. The stock jumped up by almost 20%. The 3 days since then, we're forming a little, bull flag pattern. Looks like a pretty solid little continuation signal that could lead to another. So that was how many dollars? Open, high, low, close. 24. Another, $5-6 upside within the next few weeks, probably.
Yeah, and that would correspond with what the analysts are saying, because the analysts, you've been seeing several analysts who have been raising their price targets since the report. Citigroup's up to $35, JP Morgan Chase's up to $34. So yeah, that's exactly right where you were saying, Thomas.
Yeah, this is a melt up. The market is following the analysts, and what we're seeing is a clear textbook trading signal right now, which is the bull flag pattern. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Thanks for talking about this one. I just thought it was interesting and wanted to bring it up for our viewers because I like the nuclear field has been such a popular topic, and this is just another area to look at with that. So glad we brought that one up. Let's get on to some others here. Let's get to IREN. This is one that several people have asked about, want to talk about right now. I've got that chart pulled up. What have we seen with that stock, Chris?
Okay, so what we're seeing with IREN is it's been up sharply in the last month. It's up 34% in the last month and 12.5% just in the last 5 days. Let's see. It reports earnings this week. That's what I thought. It reports earnings on Thursday. So again, that's going to be something for investors to watch. Analysts have been it's trading well above the consensus target right now. And we're just going to have to see, where analysts stand on it as we get closer to earnings and get past earnings. So, I mean, it's an interesting company with what they're doing. They formerly were a Bitcoin miner exclusively. They've transitioned that now. So they're taking the profits that they make from their Bitcoin mining, they're plowing it back into their other business, which is providing not only the owning both data centers, but they're also owning the power assets that go into those data centers. So it gives it the ability to have some more control over its cost and the sustainability factor, because they're powering the data centers that they own with 100% renewable energy. So it's an interesting story. They just today it was announced that they got it was a significant contract from Microsoft. I'm sorry, I just had it up and I need to get that up again to get the exact dollar figures. So it was a $9.7 billion cloud deal with Microsoft. So again, that's just part of the whole hyperscaler story. And again, just the contract that they got. Again, it's providing Microsoft with access to Nvidia GPUs, and the 9.7 billion includes a 20% prepayment. So that's what has investors. That's part of what's got investors excited about the stock today.
Perfect. Well, let's move on to some different ones. I want you to look up, Chris or Thomas, why don't you look up Meta? There's been a couple people saying Meta is having some price action right now after the market close. And speaking of price action after market close, Tactile Systems Technology, TCMD, Damon just brought this one up, and I think that the chart looks really interesting. I don't know if either of you have heard of this one, but in extended trading today, it's up about 25%. In after hours because earnings dropped today. Here is what that chart looks like. Up about 63% in the last 3 months.
You're saying TCMD, right?
TCMD. And this company, it's a Minnesota company, a medical device company. Interesting.
Yeah.
Over in Minnesota. I don't know if those of you know, I'm in South Dakota. So it's always fun to see those Midwest companies in Minnesota.
So it looks like
Say that again?
Minnesota, don't you know?
Minnesota? Sorry.
Like they just, it looks like last week they announced clinical trial results for what's called the FlexiTouch Plus. It's a first-line therapy for treating patients with head and neck cancer-related lymphedema. So that is probably part of the reason why the stock's going up, because again, it's taking that step through the approval process, which is good.
Can you see the earnings at all for that one?
They report earnings today. Actually, they just report today?
Yeah, they just reported in after hours. That's why we're seeing the
Okay,
movement in
so
that
let
one.
me try to see.
What was that ticker?
TCMD. And for those of you who are just joining us for Market Beat Mondays, if you've never been here before, these are cold looks. We haven't looked up any of these beforehand. We're just taking things live from the chat and different stock tickers that have been recommended to us. So we haven't prepared any of this. We're just looking ahead of time, kind of live as they come. That's what a lot of people love about this. But if you're wondering what is going on, we are just giving these guys.
I'm not seeing the reports. Well, wait, no, I think I see them. Hold on. Yes, total revenue up 17% year over year to 85.8 million. Gross margin up 1% year over year. Net income up 3 million year over year. 25 million stock buyback. So yeah, good. Looks like good results.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm scanning through the press release as fast as I can.
And that's okay. We have a lot of other ones to get to. So again, on Market Beat Mondays, we kind of just give a really brief overview of some of these things. We're going to check back in with Palantir in just a minute. A couple of people want to hear about. Mohammed, I've seen it lots of times. Let's just get to Bitfarms. This is a much smaller stock that was up quite a bit and is now pulling back a little bit. And I'm guessing the question is it an entry point? Are we going to see a reversal here? What could be going on with this one? I'm not sure if this is similar to IREN or not, but it was up 254% in 3 months. And that's
Right. Yeah.
that's with just even with the pullback. I mean, it must have been up even way more when it was back at 650. So interesting.
Yeah. Right. I think that this is a Bitcoin miner. They operate their own data centers. They're probably right. They're pivoting to AI like everybody else. So I think now what we're waiting for is to see them start benefiting from the AI bubble. Let's see. Last revenue jumped by 90%. That's pretty good. But it was shy of consensus. The forecast for next year looked pretty light. I mean, that could be the catalyst right now. It could be that the market's in wait and see mode. It certainly has made a pretty substantial run up. So from $1 to $5 is pretty huge. This pullback appears to be finding support above a critical level, so it's above the previous highs, the top of the trading range. That's a pretty positive sign. So I think looking forward, you might expect this stock to move sideways within a range in the $4 to $5 region, maybe up to $6, until some more news comes out. That could include contracts for services or the upcoming earnings release.
Thank you, guys. Good to go over that one. So many different names coming in. I know we mentioned Meta. I'm curious to see what's happening with that one. Since we started, I haven't taken a look at what could be happening with that.
So I don't see anything in the news flow to say why the stock is pulling back right now. Other than with the results last week, they announced that they were planning to spend a little bit more money than the market was expecting, what it wanted. But what I will say is that Meta is the poster child for if you spend money on AI, you'll make more money with AI. They're the ones that started doing it way back when they shifted into the year of efficiency. That turned into the year of let's use AI to boost our business, resulted in internal efficiencies, resulted in boosted consumer traffic. Now they're spending money on expanding their virtual reality. Hopefully that will pay off. It seems like with the the VR glasses, the Ray-Bans and the Oakleys seems to be doing pretty well. So I think we're just seeing a market kind of consolidating and chewing on the fact that they're going to spend more money over the next year or so. But based on the past results, based on what other companies are doing, I would expect to see this money definitely pay off with increased revenue, increased earnings. But as far as the price action goes, last 2 weeks we pulled back, but we're still above this critical resistance level way back here in May. That's probably coincided with the May report. There's a small gap higher. That's a pretty strong bullish sign. So right now the market's pulling back to that gap level. Assuming we get support confirmed at this level, I would consider that to be a bullish trend following signal and would expect to see Meta continue moving higher. Probably not by the end of the year, but early next year set a new high. And based on the analyst trends, 827 consensus would be a new all-time high, I think. Is that correct? Yeah, 827 consensus is the new all-time high. Right. So right now, looking at Meta consolidating, testing support at this level, probably, consolidating a little bit more, maybe rebounding before the end of the year, but probably not setting that new high until early next year. But a new high does seem pretty likely.
I wanted to point out, just looking at their earnings, they just reported earnings, and it was a beat. I don't know if you talked about that at all. About when you have an earnings beat like this on such a big company, why would that lead to a pullback?
Because they said they're going to spend too much money.
Yeah.
The market was like thinking you're going to have all this revenue and your margin's going to be X, and you're going to make X margin, X money. But the company says, well, no, we're really going to make that much in cash flow, but we're going to spend this huge chunk of it.
Yeah.
And we're only going to make this smaller amount in earnings. And so the market is kind of repricing in that diminished earnings outlook. But ultimately, it's money they chose to spend, not money they had to spend. So in future quarters, you can assume that one, the investments will pay off with increased revenue, increased earnings, and two, they won't have to spend that money again. So the margin has kind of a double tailwind for it over time.
Right.
So again, and Meta makes plenty of money, plenty of cash flows, buying back shares, paying a dividend. I think new highs are, just a matter of time.
All right, very interesting. We've got a few minutes left here. There's so many different names coming in. It's hard to pick which category to go to. I'm kind of looking to see which charts are interesting.
Hughes actually went up, Bridget. Hughes is up in the after hours. Not, almost. It's knocking on the door of 10% now. Actually.
All right. I've got it at 7.5% on my chart.
Yeah. Okay. No. Nope. Yep. I just refreshed. So yeah. So it's about 7.5%. Yep. It had good results from what we're seeing.
Well, right. I think
49% year-over-year increase in revenue.
I think it was mixed related to consensus, but I think ultimately what it was is not as bad as it could have been.
Yes.
Definitely reassures the market, reaffirms that there is a future. There is going to be profits. 8% is a pretty good bounce.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a pretty good bounce. I'm just going to pull it up just because it's been a little bit now. Let's look at Palantir and see what they're doing in after hours. I'm just going to refresh. See. It looks like they're not doing too much of anything, right? In after hours, extended trading.
Still edge. I mean, it's edged higher. It's like 0.5%.
Yeah, they spiked up and then they came back down, and now it's up a little bit. Again, I'm not actually seeing the results on their website, but I did see a release about it. So yes, the reports were better. They beat on the top and bottom line, as I said before, and they're the report was a strong report. It's just we haven't heard from it. They're probably waiting on the call.
Yeah.
Is what's going to happen at this point.
All right.
Because the call is always the thing with Palantir.
It'll depend on how much exuberance we hear in Mr. Karp's voice.
Yeah, and that won't happen until 6 o'clock. So unfortunately,
there could be some more moves come in.
If there's good news or bad news, we'll hear it in his voice.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm looking at some of the other names that people want us to cover yet. Again, lots of great names, guys. Thanks for sharing these. A few of them are down names. And so that's interesting to see. A lot of times people will give suggestions when the stock is seeing a nice little jump. But right now we're looking at some big names out there that are down. So we just talked about Meta. Oracle's down a little bit right now. I'm pulling up that chart right now. Oracle down about 10% for the month, a little over 6%. It's down again in extended trading after the close here. Do we know why Oracle is down?
This looks like consolidation, profit taking to me. I mean, they've still the same story as before, ramping AI business, ramping hyperscale business, ramping demand for its services, expecting several upcoming quarters of triple digit data center growth, accelerating, system-wide growth. The stock price is up or had been up 120. Yeah. So, pushing 200% at the peak, within the year. So we was looking at profit taking, people taking some money off the table. Right now we're still above the previous peak, which to me would be the critical the critical support level. So as long as we stay above like 250, I would expect to see the market get its feet back and rebound and potentially set another new high.
Yep.
Good. Let's look at another one that's down really quick. MSTR. That one's down quite a bit, down 25% in a month. What's going on with that one?
MicroStrategy, right. It looks like we've got analysts are kind of resetting their outlook. I don't think has been, really showing the AI strength that we had been expecting.
Yeah. Targets are going lower, but most of them are still well above the consensus.
Mm-hmm. I know that's what's really interesting with that one.
Right.
Except for a couple of the recent ones. The recent ones are, Canaccord raised their target to 474,
right.
Mm-hmm.
But Wainwright lowered it from 521 to 475. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Just had to refresh myself of who we're talking about, but yeah, this is the Bitcoin Treasury Company, right?
Yes, the Bitcoin Treasury.
Right. So yeah, this is that same struggle with they're selling themselves away to buy Bitcoin, and if you think that buying Bitcoin while selling yourself away is a good idea, then it's one that you're buying, and people that think that selling yourself away for Bitcoin is bad are selling, and we're stuck in a range. It looks like pretty solid range.
All right, guys, we had another super chat about asking about the rare earth stocks, and we did cover them, but I'm wondering if that's when we weren't actually live. So I don't know if you're just joining us now. We started and then had to restart because we weren't actually live. So we'll just go through them really quick in case we did miss that on the live. I don't remember, but we had shown all of the rare earth stocks are down quite a bit right now. We have USAR, we have UAMY as down. Everybody is down right now, kind of at the same time. So let's give the why. What's behind that rare earth drop?
Well, like we were saying before when we were mistakenly not on the air, is it almost looks like a pump and dump, because a lot of these stocks don't have revenue. They've got a prospect for business if they get their mines operational, if we can establish markets for them. But their stock prices shot up, by triple digit amounts because of retail interest in this possibility that has since kind of evaporated, because now the trade negotiations have progressed and the rare earth blockade from China is not what it had been. And these companies, most of them don't make any money.
Right.
So there's a lot of overhang, a lot of headwind right now, a lot of short interest in the market. So right now, I think that they're just either going to continue to move lower or move sideways where they are, but there's not a lot of reasons for them to move higher without some catalyzing news event, which would have to come from the political angle, because without that, we're waiting for the business, and that's going to be quarters and quarters or years before they get their mines operational and start actually selling products.
Right. I mean, the Treasury Secretary, he came out last week and said that regardless of what the deal between the U.S. and China is regarding rare earths, that the United States is putting their foot on the gas pedal as far as rare earths is concerned. They don't want to be dependent upon China for rare earths, and that's got people excited. But again, that's hope, and that's great, but the reality of that hope is quarters and years away.
Yeah. All right, let's get into a few more names. I'm going to try and fit in as many as I can, as quick as I can. SoundHound, I'm just pulling up that chart right away here. SoundHound had been up about 70% in 3 months, but the last couple of days it's been down a little bit. Do you know what could be behind some of those moves?
Again, another stock. There's not a lot of news out to warrant a sell-off, but looking at the chart, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks kind of sideways. We formed a peak, but we're above a breakout point. This market is in rally mode. It's moving higher. So what we've seen the last 3 weeks is just a pullback, a consolidation within this rally. We're above critical support levels. So assuming we get, good reports, good news coming up, which there is no reason not to expect it, the market should, get reinvigorated and begin to move higher again.
Yeah, and it looks like earnings is coming up for that one. So I would imagine next week on Monday, on MarketBeat Monday, we'll have even more to talk about with that. Smaller stock here, pulling it up really quick. You guys will have to look this up. Let's look up CTMX, and then I also want to look up CLX. So CTMX is one, and the other one is CLX. I'm going to pull up the chart for CTMX just because I've got it up here. This one is up 20% in 5 days, which is a nice little jump for it. And it looks like it's another biopharmaceutical company. So biotech stocks, I know we see lots of different moves in these from time to time. It does look like there's still, according to the analyst, a good price target ahead for this one, which is good to see. I'm not sure if there's any FDA events to look at here, if there's anything new that has happened. It's up in extended trading right now too, which is also interesting to see. Again, this is a cold look at this, guys, so we're giving them time to just look at what's happening.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Bridget, what was that? Again, I was looking at CLX.
Yes, so was I. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah,
CTMX. This is a biopharmaceutical company. It looks like they do have earnings coming up on Thursday. They are up quite a bit, up about 20% in 5 days. And again, there's a lot of upside according to analysts on this one too. And for a tiny stock, they have a decent amount of coverage from analysts too.
They've also got a decent amount of revenue for being a clinical stage company. But this is one I will say, yes, I have not heard about this one.
Yeah. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
That tells me a catalyst.
I know, looking at the FDA events tab, which if you've not checked this out yet, MarketBeat has a really great FDA events tab that kind of makes it super easy to find at any time that there's new pharmaceutical phases when they've passed new levels of FDA regulations. And that's when we can often see some different movements in these biopharmaceutical biotech stocks. So check that out on marketbeat.com if you have not checked that out before. Yeah, either way, we've talked about it a little bit. Do you guys have anything else to say on this one, or can I get on to another one before we?
Yeah, I don't see much in it. They got some promising data and they're well funded, but I don't see anything recent or upcoming that's going to drive this market anywhere.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at the one other one we want to talk about. Was the
CLX? That's Clorox, right?
Clorox.
Interesting. Okay, what's going on with this company? This is not an unheard of company.
It's not.
It's up after hours.
They just reported results, top and bottom. This is a high quality, dividend paying consumer staple company. It kind of struggled for the last few years because they got such a boost during the pandemic because everybody was using Clorox to bleach everything. So the market's kind of been struggling since then. We recently hit a bottom, just like today, really, a low. And now the market seems to be rebounding.
Yep.
So it looks like the bottom is being confirmed, assuming that we get some follow through tomorrow. It looks like a pretty decent time to buy, this dividend stock. Right now it's yielding about 4.4%. That's, pretty high for this one.
I like to hear in the comments somebody asking about a dividend stock. We have so many growth investors who want to hear about the smaller companies. So it is fun to sometimes talk about some of these other companies simply because we don't have them on the channel that often.
Well, this is a good dividend stock because it's got a high yield at the bottom of this range. If it does rebound and continue within this range, we're looking at, 55, 65% upside, just moving within the range. And so for, an income investor to buy the stock now, get the 4% yield, and then, take profits or even exit the position when it hits the top of the range, that's a pretty good total return for, 6 months or a year of holding onto a stock.
Yep.
Yeah, very interesting too. It looks like consensus price target is up. So it does look like analysts, while they're saying reduce this or hold, at least there looks like there could be some upside here. So that's interesting. All right, we will get to, I think, maybe one more. Let me just look at this chart really quick. Look at ISMR. Somebody was saying that one would be a good one to look at now. And we'll end with a quick look to see if we have actual Palantir earnings data to show live yet. I don't know if we do.
I don't know what ISMR is.
I don't either. I'm sorry, it's not pulling up on our chart. I think we looked at this one earlier, actually. Somebody had commented earlier in the week to look at that one. Well, we've done a lot. We've talked a lot. We've covered a lot. Again, I feel bad for those who joined us right away at 3, and we thought we were going live, and we were not yet. So thanks for sticking with us, for those of you who have stuck with us this whole time from that early start. Looking at Palantir, do we see anything showing up for that?
It's up almost 2% now, so the after hours action has gotten some traction.
I haven't seen the report actually drop on their website yet. I've been looking for that. I do have. We can end this with a couple of quotes from Alex Karp. I'm seeing he said that. Let's see. In response to the company's valuation, he said it has confounded most financial analysts in the chattering class, whose frames of reference did not quite anticipate a company of this size and scale growing at such a ferocious and unrelenting rate, which is very typical for Dr. Karp.
Yeah. Well, it's a good quote from him for sure. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for MarketBeat Monday. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your stock. We try to get to as many as we can, as quick as we can, to just talk about some different stock ideas that all of you are interested in. We try to cover as many as we can in our videos during the week as well. So thank you again for all of the stocks you put in the chat today. Let me know if you have any other thoughts in the comments on the replay of this live stream or in any of the videos that we're going to be posting yet this week on MarketBeat. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And as always, happy investing.